Hi folks, this is Mike Mott with Mott & Associates with our May 2014 Economic Update. We're going to be discussing some of the major events that occurred in May. We'll also talk about what might affect the markets in the days and weeks ahead. Before we get started though, please stay tuned for at the end of this thing, we're going to have a required disclosure statement that needs to be read, so I'd appreciate if you stick around. The markets experienced quite a bit of turbulence last month. In fact, the major industries, they rallied to close out the month of May on a positive note. And that's the fourth straight month in a row. So despite the volatility, both the Dow and the S&P 500 reached record highs last month. For the month of May, the S&P 500 gained 2.1%, the Dow rose 0.82%, and the NASDAQ actually grew over 3%. The first quarter earnings season just wrapped up in May as well, and so overall companies did surprisingly well. S&P 500 firms increased both earnings and revenues despite what continues to be a challenging economic environment. But let's hope that the better business conditions will produce a stronger performance to the end of the second quarter. Now, the May economic data was mostly positive. In fact, the May jobs report showed that the economy added 217,000 new jobs. That was on top of April adding about 300,000. And that breaks the 200,000 job mark for the fourth month in a row. The number of unemployed Americans has reached an all-time high, in fact, higher than pre-recession, and the unemployment rate now has fallen below 6.3%. We got our second look at first quarter GDP, and the news wasn't good, unfortunately. The estimates are that the economy actually pulled back, showing about a 1% negative growth for the quarter. While this is disappointing, the market mostly ignored the news. We think the decline was mostly attributed to that brutal winter we've talked about several times. And so, if we look at the silver lining, there was actually, customer demand actually appears to be strong. And some economists still project that the GDP may hit 3% this year. In mid-May, Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen spoke before the House and Senate about the state of the economy. She was upbeat about the economic prospects of the economy for this quarter, but she was a little concerned about the slowdown in the housing sector. And we remember that the housing sector is one of the major drivers in our markets, so a continued slowdown could affect economic growth. But regardless of that fact, the Fed still plans on continue scaling back those bond purchases, and they still plan to wrap up the quantitative easing programs by this fall. Consumer sentiment fell slightly by the end of the month. Americans are a little worried because their wage growth is not keeping up, and they're afraid that's going to affect their standard of living. But then when we look across America as a whole, most Americans are still optimistic about the economic prospects for this year. So as we look ahead, we're going to be looking closely to watch that economic data to see whether this quarter will produce that stronger economic growth that we were hoping for. And it appears that we're going to continue to expect, and the new norm, expect more volatility in the days and weeks ahead. So, we hope that those stocks will continue to respond positively to good economic news. So we'll just have to see. And now for a quick look at our upcoming events. The wine tasting experience we're holding later this month is closed to new guests because we had such a great response, and so we're full. That's the bad news. Good news is we're going to have another one, and if you're interested in attending one of our wine tastings, just give us office a call, and we'll be sure to get you on our list, and you'll be at the top of the list for the next one. Also, we're going to be making some other exciting announcements in a few weeks, so please check your emails for the details of what's coming up soon. Once again, this is Mike Mott with Mott & Associates. I'll be signing off for this month. I hope that you found that what you in this commentary has been useful and interesting. If you have any questions about what you heard, you can certainly make comments below, or we'd love to hear from you at our office. You can just give us a call at 941-746-3216, and we'd be happy to discuss any questions you might have. So before we go to that disclosure, I just wanted to tell you thank you so much for watching today, and I look forward to seeing you next month. Have a good one.
While we believe the information in this report is reliable, We cannot guarantee its accuracy. Opinions expressed are subject to change without notice and are not intended as investment advice or a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. Please consult your financial professional before making any investment decision.